My truck has 170,000 miles and I have never changed the brake rotors. I changed the brake pads when it was 70,000 miles, but today I'm going to do a complete brake job. I'm going to change all 4 rotors, pads, and I'm going to do a brake fluid flush as well. So let's get to it. In order to make this job much easier, I recommend to turn the wheel like this one. If you're going to be working on the, like this one is the driver's side, turn it into the passenger side, so the caliper is going to be sticking out. And it is much easier working with long breaker bars, which they're going to be needed without having any interference with the frame. And this is me, but I always like to put the wheel underneath the truck, so if any of the jack floor fails, the truck is going to fall on the wheel. And here we have rotor and caliper. Look, all the mud of off-roading. There's not much ventilation left anymore. In order to remove the caliper, I'm gonna first undo this bolt and this one, so the caliper is gonna come out. And in order to remove the rotor, I'm gonna undo this one right here and this one, so the caliper bracket is gonna come out as well. And this is also a good time now to observe how these metal brackets are installed and what type of caliper goes in what side. In this one, in the outer side is the one with the rounded bottom, in the inside is a straight bottom. And this is what I mean with a round bottom over here, flat at the bottom here. So now when I'm doing this bolt, make sure that you have some control because you don't want to just slam against the brake line. So what I do, I just stay close and just work the bolt out. So I'm not going to go farther than this position. So as I'm loosening up the caliper, I'm just holding it with my leg because I don't want the caliper to fall off and potentially snapping the brake line. Because as you can see, it's only held by this line. So I have a zip tie, a big one. I'm going to put it around here. And I'm going to hold the caliper to the coil. That way it's not hanging off the brake line. Like so. No tension, it's not pinching anything, we're good. And look, as I remove the caliper, the pads actually got stuck in here, so just remove them like that, very simple. You can get a screwdriver and pry them out. Still they have some meat, but it was about time. This is a 160,000 miles rotor, still not too bad, but yeah, it's time to get it replaced. And this is the bracket that I need to remove next in order to get the rotor out. Now this bolt and this one up here that I'm going to be removing next, they're usually very tight, 170 foot-pounds. So I'm going to hit them with a WD-40, let them rest a little bit, and afterwards it helps a lot just giving them a couple of smacks with the hammer, and they'll come out loose much better. All right, and the bracket is out. Time to remove the rotor. So in order to remove the rotor, I'm gonna undo this torque bolt. But as you can see, if I try to undo it, I'm going to be spinning the rotor. I'm going to put the breaker bar like so. Just to block it. And this one is not too tight. And for the rotor to come out, it may need a little bit of tapping with the hammer. You're going to spare this one for later. And here we go. So before I install the new rotor, I'm going to remove some of the surface rust with a wire brush, just to make sure there is a proper seating. All right, let's get the new rotor in. And I'm going to align the hole like so. I'm going to put the ball back in. This ball doesn't need to be too tight. It's just holding the rotor during the assembly. It is the wheel through these studs what is holding the rotor. And the torque in this bolt is 8 foot-pounds or 106 inches pound. Not too much. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is just removing these clips right here. And I'm going to be installing the new ones. Now before I do that, I'm going to be cleaning the surfaces where those clips are going to be sitting on the bracket, because I'm going to grease them next with Permatec brake parts lubricant. Like so. And in the other side as well. And now we're ready to install the clips. And this should be pretty straightforward. Just put them in and push them in. Like so. And the same in this side. There is no way to screw this up because there's only one way to get them in. Perfect. So in order to move the brake pads in the new caliper, I need to put the piston back down to compensate for the additional materials on the pad. Otherwise, I won't be able to put the caliper back over the rotor. So to do so, I'm going to be using this tool, basically like so. So this is when having the caliper hanging on the coil makes things much easier. So now as you can see, as I tight, the piston is going back in. And it's pushing fluid back into the reservoir. I'm not going to press too much, like so. It's okay. And I'm going to do the same with the upper one. And this is not tight at all. You can see I can just do it with one hand, not applying too much pressure. Yeah, like so. Next, I'm going to install the pads, and these kits always come with some grease, special grease to put it on the back of the pads. I prefer to use the Permatex brand. So this cover needs to be removed. Not a lot, just like a thin layer. Like so. Perfect. Next, I'm going to mount the brake pads on the bracket. Like so. So I'm going to start mounting the bracket with the pads on its place, pretty much in reverse order. And I'm just going to leave it hand tight for now. Also, something to check is this bolt right here. It should be able to move in and out. This is actually like a pin like this. In my case, the lower one is stuck, so I'm just going to wiggle it back and forth a little bit until I get it out. Something that I also do is lubricate this shaft with high temperature grease, or it could be also anti-seize. Put it in, so it's floating. Let's get the caliper installed. And I'm going to tighten these bolts just by hand, not all the way. So the bolts from the caliper to the bracket, 75 foot-pounds. And there we go. And these two bolts, the caliper to the control arms or the knuckles, is 170 foot-pounds, 80 millimeters. Before I'm on the wheel, I put this spacer back in. And the final torque is 140 foot-pounds. And doing the work on the rear wheels is exactly the same. The only difference is that the rotors and the pads are slightly different, just a little bit smaller. And instead of hanging the caliper from the coil, you can hang it from the springs. And another difference in the rear brake is that you're going to see these holes with threads. There are no threads in the wheel, so the only way to hold the rotor on the wheel is through the nuts in this stud. So just put it in and that's it. And something that can be looked at this point as well is the parking brake, which are these two pads. This is more like a drum brake style. In my case, they are worn out, so I think I'm going to change them soon as well. Just like this. And since this video is too long already, I'm going to do the brake fluid flush in the part 2. Thank you for watching.